guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be showing my top 4 favorite fashion travel books, which was really difficult to find. Like honestly, I didn't think it would be so hard to find that many books that combine fashion and travel, and it's actually really difficult. I wanted to have at least 5, but I could only find 4. So that's why it's my top 4, because it's the only 4 that I could find at this point. But anyhow, with that being said, let's get started. So the first couple of books are from the same author, which is Megan Hess, and that is these books are the ones that started my whole search for fashion travel books, because that's what these books are all about. So the first book is New York Through a Fashion Eye by Megan Hess, and it has this beautiful cover with a taxi and a girl in a black dress. It just has this really pretty like coloring and illustrations, and Megan Hess is an illustrator from Australia, and she has a lot of amazing books, not just these couple that I'm going to show you. Like she has some of the best books that I have and I've read, and her books are not only really pretty, they're also really informative. And then the pages are just like this beautiful rose gold kind of color, and then when you open them up, they have beautiful illustrations. And then it gets into kind of the more information type thing on different parts of New York. So the book is separated by different sections. The book is separated by different things, such as, let me find the table of contents, which is somewhere. Okay, so it's separated by the introduction, and then do/play, shop, sleep, and eat and drink, and then listings. And it has the page numbers that it starts at, which is really helpful. And then from then on, it just tells you different things that a person interested in fashion, interested in beauty, architecture, whatever, would really appreciate about these places to eat, sleep, and so on in New York City. And it just has like the most beautiful illustrations, a lot of black and white. There's some pops of color like blue and red and yellow, and it just has like really nice pictures and images. And then it's really, like I mentioned before, informative, and it goes into a lot of detail on different places you can stay at, different restaurants you can eat at. Like this one, it talks about like the vibe, the atmosphere of whatever place it is. And it gives a lot of really good insights in New York City. If you've never been to New York City, then this book would have everything you need to plan a trip. And then you could just look up a lot of these places online and, you know, figure out where you want to go based off of that. And it has the Statue of Liberty in here. And obviously, you can't really travel. We can't travel there right now at this moment, or most people can't. But in the near future, hopefully we can. And in the meantime, it's really nice to have something you can look at and just be really inspired and really get excited about future trips to New York City. Because I know for me, even though I haven't been able to travel so much over the last, year or so, it's really nice to look at travel books and just imagine what a trip would be like, or where you could go and things you could do in the future, hopefully. So yeah, I love this book. I love everything about it, and I highly recommend getting this book and reading it and just getting some inspiration for future trips. So I was going to show you the next book by Megan Hess, but I think I'll go into another book that's by a different author first and then come back to the Megan Hess book. And this one is called A Foodie and Fashionistas Guide to London, and it is by Victoria Ugart. And it just has an image of the British flag, and yeah, so this book is not strictly through a fashion eye like the previous one. It also goes through what a foodie would be interested in for London, and this book is actually so detailed. It is way more detailed than the New York Through a Fashion Eye, partially because the other one had so much illustration, so much time went into that. This book really hones in on London and like what to do there and how to get around. So the reason I say it's so detailed is it has different sections, and in each section, I haven't read this in a while, so I'm trying to remember how it's sectioned off. So it talks about not only places to stay, things to do, how to get around. It also talks about what you should wear, the do's and don'ts for dressing in London. So it has some very specific bullet points. Like a lot of things in this book are bullet pointed, so it's very easy to get around and look at things, and the titles are the different sections are bolded, so you can look at what you want to look at and maybe take notes if you need to get more of a condensed version for yourself of what you need to get, what you might need to pack for London. And then it goes into detail about specific hotels, like the St. Martin Lane Hotel, and has bullet points under each one of those and gives an overview of them. And this book is also much longer than the last book, so it can go into more detail. Then it even has not just what you can do in London, but it has day trips from London, and if you're staying in London, things you could do, which I think is really helpful, because when I go on a trip, I want to kind of stay in the same area, but I like to be, when I go on a trip to another country, I like to plan things that I can go to pretty nearby, and things that I could do preferably from the same location. If I need to change to get what I want, that's fine, but it's nice to have something you can do staying in the same place but still get to take a day trip somewhere and see something really interesting. City of London, where to eat and shop, so it's separated into different sections, like where to stay, where to eat and shop, different things to do. And the last book I forgot to mention had a lot of stores you could shop at, you could go to, and art galleries and things like that might be interesting for someone to do in New York. And so this one, it's honestly, if I remember correctly, it even talks about the bus system in London and how to get around it, what you need to do, the bus pass you need, maybe even how much it costs, how the system works versus maybe in America, or how the system works in general. It's just very good to see that, so you know what to expect when you're going there, because sometimes, obviously a lot of tourists take taxis and things like that, but sometimes just if you need to get somewhere and you're trying to stay on a budget, then taking the bus is a much cheaper and more affordable option, and it is really efficient in a lot of places, so it's a really good travel option. So it's nice to know what to expect when you go there. And overall, this book is just so informative. There's so much info in here, though. That's why I don't remember a lot of the details. It's honestly more of a reference guide. You can read through the whole thing, but I would do it more if you were going on the trip soon, and just trying to get the details of your trip. Unless you were planning the hotel, then I would just look at that one section, not try to go through the whole thing and try to remember everything. Or I would take notes, because honestly you're not going to be able to remember everything that is in here. But that's why it's so nice how it's sectioned off and it's detailed and it's bulleted and everything, so it's really easy to go through. Unfortunately, there aren't any pictures. That's the one thing that I wish there was about this, because it'd be really nice just to see some of the places and images. But I really like how this book is more of less of a travel guide kind of book, where it has a little bit about the information about the place or whatever, and then it has maybe a picture and it moves on to the next thing. It takes up what could be pictures and gives a ton of details. So I really like this book, and it will be a great reference guide for going on a trip to London, which I hope to be doing in the near future. And I think you guys would really like this book and really get a lot out of it. And again, it could just inspire you for future trips to London, even though it may not be in the near future. And if you like just reading about other places and how they do things and things that are available there, then that would also be this would also be a really great option for that. So back to Megan Hess books again. This one is Paris Through a Fashion Eye by Megan Hess. And this book is really pretty, again, with the black and white. And then it has the gold pages here. It has a little pop of pink at the front. So I really like that. A lot of this, because it's Paris, kind of has the pink and black and white vibe going. So it just has a few pages of really pretty illustrations. few more pages of illustrations, and then the contents, which are again introduction, do, play, sleep, or shop, sleep, and then eat and drink, and listings. So it just categorizes by each section, and then you can go into different sections. It has beautiful images of the Eiffel Tower and the Maurice. I'm not very good at French. The Arc de Triomphe is also in here, and just some other really cool places that you can see. And obviously a lot of these places are really well known, so there's not they're not like shocking or like really unique things you can only find in this book, like the Arc de Triomphe or the Eiffel Tower or whatever else. And my French pronunciation is probably not great. I'm okay at like translating a little bit of French, but I'm not great at pronouncing it. Same way with Italian. Well, actually I can kind of pronounce Italian because I can understand and I kind of understand, and I can read Spanish, so then Italian's not too difficult, but French is kind of out of my sphere. It talks about different designers like YSL, or if you can hear something in the background, it's the dog. My puppy is probably barking at the mailman or something. And then Isabelle Marant, which I've seen some of her designs, and she has some really cool stuff. And a lot of it's in black and white, but then has really pretty pops of color like blue and pink. It also talks about different hotels you can stay at or things like that. It's just a really good informative book. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. This illustration right here, so pretty. It's for the Shangri-La Paris, which I'm not sure it's a place to stay. It has just lots of other really cute places you can stay, things you can do. And it's good to like look up, you know, online. When you look up online though, you get like the mainstream things. When you find out through somebody else's trip, like, cause this, Megan Hess has been to Paris a ton for her work and illustration. She's worked with a lot of different brands, so she knows the places to go in Paris and the things to do. So it's really nice to find out from somebody who's been there, who has seen all the different things, and who really loves fashion and beauty and art. And so because of that, you get some really interesting places that you can visit and things you can do. And I just love her books. I really want, when I plan a trip to Paris someday, because I definitely want to go to Paris. It's the first place I ever wanted to travel to since I was like 7. So when I do plan a trip to Paris, not if, when someday, I would love to use this book and I would love to go to some of these places. Like, you know, some of the places to shop, maybe even see some of the hotels, even if I don't stay there, just kind of, you know, go and see the architecture, because it would just be so amazing to go there in general, but then to see some of the things that you wouldn't find, and just if you looked it up on the internet and tried to find what should I do in Paris and where should I go, then you get to see like some really interesting and different places that most people maybe wouldn't think to. So I definitely plan on using this to plan a trip to Paris, and I hope you guys like this book and get a lot of use out of this book. And I would highly recommend getting any of her books, but this one is one of my favorites just because it's so cute and pretty, and it gives so much detail. It gives so many different places that you can visit. Like every 2 pages is a new place and a new thing that you can do and a new thing to experience. So yeah, I really like this book. So the last book that I have is something that I found after much difficulty. I was only at 3 books for this, and then I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta find something else. There has to exist something that shows another country or city somewhere in the world and does it through fashion and traveling through the fashion or through the eye of someone who loves fashion. And finally I found this book online. I can't remember where, but it just came out like a year or 2 ago, which is also great. But it's Tokyo Fashion City, a guide to Tokyo's trendiest fashion districts. And first of all, let me just say I really love the cover. It has a mashup of tons, like a collage of tons of different pictures of street fashion in Japan, which is really nice. And then you go in and it has a contents page and talks about the different things it will go through in this. It has 8 chapters, and it goes by different districts in Japan, like Shibuya, Shinjuku, and this color is really hard for me. I'm partially colorblind, so I'm like trying to tell with the pink and this, like what it's saying, and it's really difficult on top of not seeing super well, so I'm just gonna move over that. So it goes the ultimate fashion city and gives a little overview of Tokyo and talks a little bit about it with a few street fashion pictures. Street fashion is really, really big in Tokyo. Just for some background, like in a lot of magazines, we'll just take pictures of people on the street and have them there, or like different things there's a real heavy focus on people and what they wear, not just like models or whatever else. And also something else is that fashion in Japan, and I've done a lot of research in this because I like learning about fashion in different cultures, and so fashion is very grouped, kind of the best way to explain it in Japan. Like, there's a lot of different subcultures, and people like will get together in that group of fashion style and be really like interacting with people who like to do that kind of same fashion, like Lolita or Decora or Fairy K or whatever else it is. Then there's a lot of just mainstream fashion, which is more like the salary worker kind of look, which is what a lot of people do with the black hair and with the natural hair and just the suits or the like really professional wear. So that's like what a lot of people wear. And there's a very much like kind of group thinking a little bit. So everyone's kind of wearing really individualistic looking things, but a lot of it was within these subcultures and within these style sets. So it's not so much, I guess, free flowing in a style. It's very much group set, but within like a subculture or the mainstream culture if people wear like the working kind of style fashion. So it's really, there is a big contrast between that, and some people will like have a day job and work, like wear normal stuff and then and wear stuff like that and then change and maybe go on group like events or whatever in their subculture and their friend group, doing different things like that. So, or doing different things in that group. So it starts off with Shinjuku and what is this? Omotesando? Omotesando? I've never heard that before. Omotesando. It says ground zero in Tokyo's incredible fashion universe. So Shinjuku is a really stylish like area. You see lots of different people in different styles and talks about it. So this one is very much kind of the Decora style. Decora is, it could be Fairy K though, now that I'm looking at it. So Fairy K and Decora are very similar in some ways, and then also very different. So Decora has a lot more of the accessories, the cute accessories, and then Fairy K doesn't so much focus on the accessories. There is accessories, but in Decora you might see like 80 accessories, literally like hair clips and necklaces and bracelets and stuff like that on top of the pastel colors. And then Fairy K is a lot of just pastel colors and like 90s inspired cartoony styles like Care Bears or whatever else. That's kind of like Fairy K. Like this is very Fairy K with the panda and the pastels and things like that. So it goes through the different districts, and it also goes through different style subsets. And it even talks about Japanese architecture, which is really interesting, and some trends that are kind of past and some trends that are here now. Like this is kind of like the California girl trend. I can't remember the Japanese name for it, but it's very much the like they want to have like light hair and tan skin, and it's very like California style fashion, which was a big thing in the 90s. So that's a little bit less, I think, popular now. And then there's like Gaida, which is like princess or hime style clothing. There's the Gaidu kind of look, which is the, like apparently that's the name for the kind of California style girl. I forgot about that one. Forgot that was what that was called. And then there's kind of more like a hime style or princess style look. which is very girly, very cute, very, like, again, princessy, and there were a lot of lighter colors and just look very girly. And then there's also Lolita, which is very Victorian inspired and inspired a lot. I'm trying to find some of these as I'm talking about them, but there's so many pages here about different looks. And it goes into some more not as well known as Shinjuku or Shibuya type areas like Koenji, Nakano, and Shimokiita. So I do understand and speak Japanese pretty well, more like conversational speaking, but I do understand a lot more than I can speak. So that's why I know how to pronounce a lot more of these. And it even talks about like otaku, or like the very, like, and a lot of people who are otakus are obsessed about like one particular thing, say anime or whatever it is, and they really get into it. And so it talks about different stores in different areas that have where people who are otakus go. And then it shows some more fashion. This one is the longest one just because there's so much information and it's kind of everywhere. And then it does more like workplace fashion. And it tells you different places you can shop. It says find shopping among Tokyo's oldest brick buildings. And it even talks about different, if I remember correctly, different like store owners and things and what each store in a specific district sells. So it goes into the most detail because it's pretty much just focusing on places to shop in one city, and it goes by neighborhood essentially. So it is very detailed. And then it even goes into talking about the prevalence of kimonos in Ginza, which is a district, and it shows some people wearing kimonos. Kimonos are not super prevalent anymore as an everyday thing in Japan, but some people still do wear them for like events or maybe on an everyday basis if that's their style. Here is an example of cosplay. It even talks about different areas people cosplay, which is more like the otaku cosplay area is more like the district of Akihat. What is it? These districts are more the like cosplay type of districts. Akihabara. I think I pronounced that one wrong. And it even talks about Japanese design, which is really interesting. East Tokyo, local neighborhoods, local styles. So it really does go into a ton of detail. And this would be a really great way to get acquainted with Japanese fashion and some of Japanese culture and what makes Japan and Japanese style like really what makes it, I guess, what makes up subcultures. There's a lot of distinction between different districts. Like you'll find a lot more of a certain style in one district versus another, and vice versa. And obviously that isn't across the board. It's just some styles are more prevalent in certain areas, and yeah, so it really goes into a lot of detail of that, and it's really interesting. I love this book. I was so excited when I found this book because I really do enjoy Japanese fashion. And actually, if you would want me to do like a whole video about Japanese fashion, I've never been to Japan, but I've been to South Korea, I've been to China, and I want to go to Japan. I just haven't gotten there yet. I still know a lot about Japanese fashion because I've watched so many videos and done so much research and reading and everything. So if you want me to go into a lot of detail about the different styles and different things that make up different and the things that make up different Japanese subcultures, I would definitely do that for a video. This is the last book, and I would highly recommend this, as it's not so much a travel guide like the other ones, but it definitely would give a good idea of what to expect fashion-wise and where to shop.